Okay, so we can do something interesting here on the Green Maurice. This is the Isom review. Put this out a few weeks ago. This has been the most successful video that I've posted on the Green Maurice so far. So what we're gonna do is respond to all of the different comments a part of this video. So this is gonna be the responding to your comments featuring the Isom review. So let's see what we got. So we got Astute Thinker. That's a good name. It says, as an average customer, you are in fact the best person to give your honest review. Well, I appreciate that, Astute Thinker. Again, this Isom comic was probably the first comic that I've ever bought in my life and the first one that I've read in my life. Most of the other comics have been, either a friend at their house, or if you're at a bookstore, you might, window shop a few comics, pick them up, look at the cover, look at some of the pictures, put it down. My brother, once upon a time, had the Marvel Encyclopedia. And if you've never seen a Marvel Encyclopedia, you should check it out. It's one of the coolest things. Like, it has all of the characters, their bios, backgrounds, powers, abilities, and it was cool. But even then, I wasn't super into it. And this was just like a good course into, comic books, because I mean, it's a big world you stepping in the comic book universe. So we got Brandon 1050. It says the best book in the game, 100. Brandon really likes it. It says some big dog. It says, and honestly, didn't like the art at all. Am I the only one? Well, so are you the only one? No, I don't think you're the only one. I mean, you got 11 likes on your comment, so you're not the only one. And what I'd say also is there are a lot of inconsistencies in the character design. So you could use Ace Bodyguard. Ace Bodyguard is from the name of the review, and he's supposed to be that Metro. So I'm referring to cover A, I'm guessing. But there's a picture of the dude where, he's showing his gold teeth with his Metro t-shirt on. That guy is the same guy that you're fighting in the bar, or that Avery is fighting in the bar, kind of towards the middle of the comic book. And I thought those guys were two totally different people because they look so different. So there's the bodyguard that looks different. Isom, almost every time you see him in the comic book, has a different look. So that is a fair thing to bring up. It says, seemed very dark. The style wasn't that great. Couldn't really follow fight scenes. And the face of Avery changed from cover to back to pages. Yes, I agree with all of that. There were a lot of different Isom faces. Maybe that's some type of hidden ability that he got, but I know. Well, maybe we have to find out. It says, even some pages show him as a toothpick, and the cover shows him ripped out. It says, and also the suit reveals full pager at end looked like a rough draft drawing compared to the cover and back. I agree with that too. It looked like two totally different outfits. Story was okay. Lots of gaps. I hope are coming in issue 2, and I hope so too, big dog, because this is the first episode of the universe. So it's like any show. If you talk about Naruto or Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever, the first episode is just basically supposed to introduce you to the world and who the protagonist is and the circumstances. And then they kind of fill it up from there. We got Fred Lee Johnson Jr. the third. So he's the son of the father's son, but the junior. So, wow. I'm just saying thank you for your video essay. Well, I appreciate that. It says commentary is indeed, in my opinion, truth to be told and food for thought. Well, I appreciate all of that. Fred Lee Jr., the son of the father's son's brother. Again, thank you for your deep point of view. Well, I appreciate that. I don't know if it was too deep or not. There were some quality control issues towards the back of this, but, we learned together. So I appreciate the feedback. DGK, Gaming and Comics. It says, it's a very good introduction of the charters. I think he's saying characters there. I agree. It's a good introduction of the characters. For his sister's character, I wish they could have gave us some information on what exactly that job that she's working in, and then the relationship between the Excepts in the police department. I wish they kind of expanded on that a little more, just to get the overall idea of like, are the Excepts feared? Are the police, angry at them? Is there some kind of animosity there? But again, we'll see with time. Silent Partner PA says, got my cover B recently. Haven't cracked it open yet. Well, hopefully you have since then. It's been 3 weeks ago, so hopefully you've been able to check it out. Cyberpunk 1977. It says, best review I've heard. Well, I appreciate that, Cyberpunk. Now, if I ever did a review on Cyberpunk, man, because that game is terrible, or it was terrible. I guess it would have been better to do a Cyberpunk review when it was easy to talk about how terrible that game was, right? It's Afro, what is this? Civic? Afro Cyphus. Afro Cyphus. Wow. It says good review. I appreciate that. And then Mark Taylor says, you need to learn the difference between a review and a recap. Nice try, though. Well, Mark Taylor, I believe you have to do a bit of a recap to review something. So, for example, if I was giving a review on a book bag or a product or, some headphones or something, I have to tell you about it. I have to tell you how it works. I have to tell you, what the sound is like and all these other things. So you have to recap the product to give somebody the best understanding of whether or not they should buy it or not. So I appreciate the feedback. Again, I'm getting better or trying to get better at this review thing. So all of these different comments and critiques, they help. It makes the channel better. So it looks like we got the 12 comments. Well, let's see what some of the replies are here. We got Glory. It says definitely room for improvement here on a budget. It's hard to hire a top fight artist, but let's see if Cliff Richards ups his game in upcoming issues. Okay, so some positive feedback, some optimism. It's good to see optimism. What is this? Phoebe 404 says spoilers ahead. I agree that this is a little difficult to follow the fight scenes. There was one fight scene in particular where it looked like Avery and the Except henchmen were going to collide in a brawl, but in the next panel they were moving away from each other. No hit in between, just almost exchanging blows and flying away from each other. Says, I knew that the book is supposed to set up a whole bunch of stuff. However, I think the priority should have been showing the reader Avery's character as we will be seeing the story world through. Oh man, this is a long comment. Through his eyes. I agree with that. He was basically on a fetch quest in that first comic book, just trying to get information about that Jasmine girl, and then that kind of turned into him fighting with Darren. So we never really got to know Avery. He seemed to be much of a reluctant hero. Yep, he on his Danny Glover shit. I ain't got time for it. Though I think it would have been good to show him in a more positive light as the protagonist hero. To be honest, he comes off as a bit of an ass since, according to his own words, the reason he went back to Merc Q was not to find Jasmine, but because he felt disrespected. That's a fact. Again, he didn't care about that girl. After that whole fight with the Darren, basically Darren handed him an application and said, listen, don't call me, I'll call you. You could sweep my floors or something. And that little dig from the beginning when he first went to Darren to ask about Jasmine was the only reason he went back. It says, let's see what else he has here. I found that rationale a bit smug, too petty for a retired hero who wants to live in peace on his farm. I can expect that from a young buck teenage character still trying to sort out his ego, but not an elder retired hero who should know better. I kind of agree with that. It's like you're letting a slight. Now, again, maybe that might be in his personality. That may come back and bite him later. Who knows? But I do agree with you. I also could have waited for the next. It says, I also could have waited for the next issue for Yara's intro. Yeah, because she kind of shows up, fights with those Except police. And then she crashes into Isom and then she disappears. That's really it. Like, it wasn't really a purpose for her to be in that book, short of mistaking Isom for another police officer. It says, I thought her intro was way too much of a coincidence and a bit of a letdown at how short the interaction was. I had so many questions about her and why she was getting hunted down, but aside from the basic character info, we don't get any answers. We don't even really get any basic character info, Phoebe 404. It says, I'm still willing to give the series a shot, as it's been years since I've been excited about comic books. I mean, this comic book was the first one I ever bought, so that tells you about my level of excitement. It says, I would suggest getting a professional editor to take a look at the story and find any plot or character holes. I hope there is some payoffs in the next issue for the setups in this one. The comic is a little rough around the edges story-wise, but it's a heap better than anything Marvel or DC has come out with in the last decade. Wow, that's high praise. So even with all of this opportunity for improvement, Phoebe 404 is still saying that this is some of the best work that they've seen in a decade. Wow. And then Game Dragon just says true. So Game Dragon just says facts. So there it is. These all are the comments for the Isom review. Again, this was the best review that I've done so far as the view count. So thank you all who've liked the video, who've, left a comment. Hopefully the people in the comment section are subscribed so you can see me responding back to your comments. And we'll do this every so often on a video if it has great success, or if there's some kind of big comment thread that people are going back and forth on, then we'll just address it here on the Green Maurice. So peace.